So in this video, I'm going to show you how you can build your own AI agent within just minutes without writing any single line of code. As here you can see, this is the basic version of an AI agent that I have built. I'll explain it shortly and briefly so that you can understand the components of this AI agent. First of all, the AI agent always has a trigger mechanism. In this case, we have the chat message as a trigger mechanism. Then it has three nodes that are attached to the agent. One is the chat that uses the model to analyze or comprehend whatever the input that's been given to it. Second one is the memory that is used to store whatever inputs or outputs have been provided by them. And the third one is the tool that we use to fetch the data from or to send the data. Both can be done. So let's just delete this entire agent and I'll build it from scratch so that you can understand how it can be done. So first of all, we'll click on this first step and we'll look for the trigger. In this case, we'll be looking for a trigger that we want to trigger the workflow with the chat. For example, as you can see, this is the chat message. Once we'll type anything over here, and it will then trigger the chat AI agent accordingly, and subsequently it will utilize all the tools that are attached to it. So this is the trigger that we have made. The second one that we will be attaching would be the AI agent. That is basically the brain of this entire AI agent. So let's go through the AI agent in detail so that we can understand how it works, so that you can have a better understanding. So this AI agent, this is the brain of basically this entire workflow. It composed of two things. One is the parameters and one is the settings. The basic versions, as we are doing right now, will not be going on this entire setting process. I'll just briefly explain the parameters. For the parameters, first of all, we have this source for prompt. Source for prompt is the trigger mechanism that is basically triggering this AI agent or this entire workflow. In this case, as we use the chat model, so we have placed the chat trigger node, and if we are using something other than this chat trigger node, we will explain it over here in the expression form or maybe in the text form, whatever you're using. It could be either Telegram, it could be webhook, it could be any API request or anything else. But for the now, we'll resort to the chat trigger node. And what happens in this trigger node, it uses this JSON input from the chat trigger, and accordingly it uses that JSON file to execute whatever the task that has been assigned to it. So let's attach the chat model to it. It has three nodes basically which can be attached to it. One is the chat model, second the memory, and the tool. I'll explain in detail about how these things work and what the task of these things. First one is the chat model. For the chat model, we will use OpenAI. This chat model gets the input from the chat message, it transcribes it, whatever task that can be done to it, and accordingly once the output has been fetched, it again sends the input message back to the chat or any trigger that will assign to it. So let's set this OpenAI chat model. I have set this account, but if you want to do it, you can just open this new credential. It asks for the API key. You can go to this OpenAI platform. You can go to this platform.openai.com, sign up, go to this API key section, create new secret key, and then accordingly you can use the same API key in this flow once you have filled the credentials. And click save, and these credentials will be saved. The model that we'll be using at the moment would be the 4o mini, as it is better at most of the tasks. For the basic version, that's why we'll be resorting to 4o mini, and even when you are building any simple AI agent, you should also follow the 4o mini. It is cost less and it is does the most job. So let's go to the memory. Memory is basically, we'll use the simple memory. Memory is what it stores the data of executions that had been done. For example, when we are sending the data to this AI agent, this memory will save the last 5 chat inputs and the outputs that it has been sending to the person who is triggering the workflow. So if we limit it to the 1, it will not remember what happened after the first message had been sent to it. So basically, if you are testing it, then the window length of 5 would be sufficient enough. It's been done. It is basically getting the session ID from the previous node, which is the AI agent, and accordingly it will store this data based on the session ID, the JSON file. So let's attach a tool to it. We'll use the basic version that let's say you can use a calculator so that you can just test these things out. So our AI agent is ready. So let's test this thing out. We'll open the chat. We'll ask what is 3 plus 3. So as you can see, it is going to the CI agent using the OpenAI model, subsequently going this calculator to calculate what's being sent to it. Let me just take it up a bit so you can see how this been executing. Let's execute this once again. What is 3 plus 9? So it is going to this OpenAI chat model, using the memory to store the messages and then using the calculator to fetch the answers. And let's see what is the answer. The answer is 12. So this is a basic version of AI agent that you can build within just minutes without any writing single line of code. And if you want to learn how to build these agents on the more complex ones, just join my community and I'll share every workflow that I've been building along the way, and you'll be able to comprehend and understand things very well.